Thank you for joining us on Not Us United. This week we are joined with arguably Not Us United's biggest fan, and also Michael's future father-in-law, Adam. We'll be discussing his favorite film of all time, which is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Not the Mark Wahlberg one, not the Woody Harrelson one, but the one starring James Franco and Andy Serkis as our boy, Caesar. This is one of those episodes where maybe some of us are swayed into liking a movie more than we thought at the beginning of the episode. So if you're listening to us on audio, please leave a review. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. We thank you again for joining us, Not Us United. Yeah, I guess my first question, we're just going right into it.
Sure.
Is, well, welcome everyone, but regardless of you, I know
There's important things going on.
How much of the family do you think will be listening to this podcast?
Oh, as soon as I tell everyone.
Yeah.
Really? We're going to get
Our
lots of hits.
viewership,
We'll get
listeners
enough.
will.
You're looking for a spike?
I don't want to say I'm desperate, but
The old Adam Spike.
I wouldn't, if you want to throw it on Facebook or whatever, do what you will. Do what you will. I love it.
Well, with us this week, we are back, Not Us United.
Mm-hmm.
We have the two usual guests, lame. Who cares?
Right.
But
No, we
today, we have, as some in the community would say, our number one fan, in studio, live, today. It's Adam.
Yeah.
It's as some may know, suggested one of our other popular videos or podcast episodes in the rating scale.
Yes,
That was
that's
Adam
true.
original.
Yeah.
a request sent in by a fan. And he I think there's a little more backstory to this, and then you are going to be my future father-in-law.
Way to save that one.
There you go. I was
Here's a
wondering
bunch
how
of
the
things he
intro would work.
is. Oh, but he's also
But lastly,
No. Number one fan. Future
yes,
father-in-law.
future father-in-law. I love it.
And so we've been talking. You've been talking about the podcast. You got one of our shirts.
Yes, thank you.
And a great supporter of the podcast. And what we love to do is talk about movies that people love.
Yes.
And so this week we will be reviewing the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Is definitely the movie that we're talking about this week.
Yeah, I have lots of questions. Not because this is not like a bad movie or something, but I am very curious on why this. Would you say this is your favorite film of all time? Or is it up there?
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
I think Michael asked me that a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
it is. Just the remakes have hit me really well. I mean, I loved the originals, or at least most of the originals. My dad had watched them. I mean, they were before my time, but when this series came out, I was hooked from day one.
Really?
I knew I was going to like it. But yeah, it's probably I would potentially call this my favorite movie of all time.
Dang.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
The thing I was telling Kate this week was like, because I obviously know like what my favorite movie is of all time, but I still feel like I have to explain it to people, because some people would watch About Time and say like, oh sure, but why? Like, why specifically to you? And so this has always been one of my favorite topics to talk with people, because there's something that happens when people watch a movie that makes it their favorite, and I am fascinated that it is this movie with you. So I can get. Do we want to go ahead and start asking like some in-depth questions about this?
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it. I mean, I think just to be sure. Yeah, we are talking about, what is it, 2011?
People have had time.
Yeah. I think we can just do. Sometimes we do a spoiler, non-spoiler. I think we're just gonna be open conversation. This is just three men talking about apes.
That's right.
go.
The podcast. And so I guess the first question is, what was your first viewing of Planet of the Apes?
Well, I would have seen this one in the theater because
Okay.
I was pretty excited about them. So.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And so you also had watched it with the past ones. There's 5 originals.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And
some kind of a TV show at one point
Yeah.
in time. I did
And
not
none of the
see.
movies are reboots of each other. They are a series.
no, they're a series.
Okay.
And then there was the Soth reboot, or I
Yeah.
think it was just a reboot with Mark Wahlberg,
Yeah.
which is now the
Just
movie
a
we're going to be
one-off?
talking about this week.
No, it's not.
It's okay. But then
And then that was just a one-time thing. And this is now a trilogy of. There's maybe connective tissue between them, maybe prequel, but kind of, but it's not really a huge deal. And so, fan of those before these movies came out.
Yeah.
Um,
So I was anticipating that.
Anticipating this. Okay,
Gotcha.
great.
Okay.
Right. And I just think what about it draws you in? What about it is like, why is this your favorite movie?
What specifically about this movie?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure, with my age, the nostalgia was
Mm-hmm.
definitely part of it, right? Having a movie that I grew up knowing about in the before times, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I've always enjoyed, apes, monkeys, that kind of thing. That would probably be considered one of my favorite animals if you would ask me such a thing. But
Good.
But yeah, just the idea, and any movie that has kind of a reversal, a role reversal like that, where the original one had that just ending scene that was just crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think that hit home with me, and just seeing kind of the quote origin story of that, because it really is. It's like you said, it's a soft reboot. It's trying to keep with the original theme, at least it appears to me.
Yeah. Do you find yourself to be more of like a character like enjoyment for movies? Like, do you really care about like how the actors do certain characters, or are you very much more of like a plot? You can be both, but like, or do you just really enjoy being in like the environment of a movie? Because this seems like it could be both. Or either.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely with this one, it's both, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, Andy Serkis is
He's insane.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, the quote that I heard, I think for one of the movies was, in a review was, at one point, at some point, an amazing thing happens. You actually believe you're an ape or something. Yeah, just something stupid like that, but it just so you definitely put yourself in, you're seeing it from the main character, an ape's perspective, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, the environment is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead.
This just the CG on him. He looks like a real ape. Like, that's incredible.
But there's still a hint that it's Andy Serkis. Like, when you hear, like, obviously it's his voice, but like there is some facial way
Structure
that they're
of it,
able to like make it still seem like it's him. Because we all have the experience of like Gollum and Lord of the Rings and stuff. It's like, okay, that weirdly looks a lot like him too, but like with Caesar, there's these moments where like he'll say something and you're like, holy cow, that it still looks like it's him. He's just definitely an ape, like, so his performance is amazing, and I'm glad that he's done so much for the motion capture like world, because I mean there's video games now that exist with this type of technology where you're having like actors just be in video games. Like, I don't know if you guys saw today, they announced any Ted Lasso fans in the house, he's officially in FIFA 23, and Jason Sudeikis is actually in a video game as Ted Lasso.
Oh, that's so funny.
And you can play as Roy Kent and all the guys.
That's
like, it's
funny.
amazing. But like, I feel like if Andy Serkis, I don't want to put all of the weight on him, but I think a lot of credit goes to like him pushing the boundaries with that,
absolutely.
So
I mean, there was a push for him to be nominated for Best Acting in one of
Yeah,
these
it was
roles.
pushed by me.
Yeah.
Adam started that. Well, and the fact that there is a trilogy of these films, like they're clearly like doing something, you know. I don't think they would waste resources if this was not doing something for people. So,
But it is still like there's a risk to making this movie. Like, I mean, you saw with the Mark Wahlberg remake, I don't think it made a lot of money. That's why I didn't make another sequel. And so like there was a risk to this movie, and I think they put the effort into the writing, and they put the effort into like developing the character of James Franco and Caesar, and like that dynamic to like they may just like, let's make a good movie and not like some kind of cash grab kind of thing.
It did not feel like a cash grab, even to begin with, right? They didn't even try to really do a plot twist or anything great, which I think is one of the big mistakes of the Mark Wahlberg version, right? They were trying to basically duplicate that. They wanted that tail scene to have a twist, and it did. And it's in some ways that movie was more appropriate to the book, because I actually did read the book in high school, and it's nothing like the movie. But, or at least vaguely touches to it. And spoiler alert, he didn't find out that he was on Earth.
Gotcha.
So that one's actually more true to the original book, but yeah, this one was much better. Not a cash grab at all. It was basically just showing in a believable way, in my opinion. I mean, I try not to nitpick sci-fi movies, especially, right? Sure. I mean, you can't, right? But it was believable. If the pandemic that we're still arguably in now has told us anything, that not this, but
something like that.
It could progress that quickly.
Sure. I'm watching it now, and especially that end scene where it's like the disease is spreading. It's like, oh, that's a little too close to home now.
It does hit close to home.
If we talked about this 3 years ago, we would have been like, wow, that was cool. Yeah, and now we have this. Like, but oof.
But that was one of that tail scene. Just even if you didn't buy anything all the way up till then, but just to watch the map explode, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, and that's interesting that this film, that I think it shows how much trust they had, because it didn't have to tackle the whole story. They were like, trust us with just the first act of this.
Yep.
And so my question off of that would be, are you still, with the trilogy all being released now, are you still saying that this one is the best of the three?
Yeah, I watched the second one with Michael, and I think you've even said before the second one is
my
favorite. And I can see why that is. That one certainly has a transition aspect to it, and the last, I mean, they're all different movies. I think. Sure. I love an origin story, right? I mean, if you were to go back to all the all your Marvel movies and everything, it's always the original origin story that's the good one, and that's fair. That holds true for this as well.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, and it bears the burden for like all the rest of the story. Like, you don't get your part 2 and your part 3 obviously if the first one didn't do such a good job of building the foundation. But
I think too, I was like, I love the second one. Like, it is probably top 10.
What's the title of that really one? So it's Rise, then it's
Dawn.
Dawn. Okay.
Yeah. And then it's War.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And I love the political intrigue and like the twist. That has more like twists and turns and like the dynamic, and like you care so much about like the ape society and that, and it's just like that's really interesting, and like that battle aspect. But then like rewatching the first one, it is just more, I mean, I want to say a quiet film, but it's not. I mean, like, then they get to, like, on the bridge and starts going crazy. But, like, it really is a character piece. It's James Franco trying to raise a kid, essentially. And so, like, that's a crazy movie to be in the Planet of the Apes, where it's, like, this huge
it's different
sci-fi
it's different than any of the other ones,
And it's just, like, so, like, small. And it's, like... It's really, I think there is a beauty to that. It's like, if you said that's your favorite, I totally see why. So, Nick, I think it's time for you to answer some questions.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I want to share the heat that Nick is bringing into this conversation.
What heat?
Nick likes the movies.
Sure.
Have you seen all 3 of them?
I've seen 2.5 of them.
Okay. Did you, when you rewatched the first one?
Yes, I've seen. Yeah,
okay.
I watched the first one a lot. I've seen it. Yeah, plenty of times. What are you doing? just get it over.
What maybe when you hear that it's like, oh, I love this movie. Like, what do you think holds it back in a sense of like you like it? It feels like a Lord of the Rings to me, where it's like I love Lord of the Rings, but you're like, yeah, it's good. It's a really great movie.
Yeah, no, I think the first one, I would be more on Adam's side and say that it's the best of the 3. from the half of the third one that I've watched. I saw Woody Harrelson shaving his head. I was like, that's pretty cool, but don't really care about it. Because I do think that this one, if there's like, I don't know, I don't want to say that there's like more heart, but maybe there is. Like you get to care more for.
Yeah.
It helps you understand Caesar's point of view, so that when he finally does take on the turn of like, sorry, you guys are going down. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, I don't get that. Why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
So I don't really have a lot of qualms with the first one, but I don't know. I feel like the second and the third one for me are more like, I don't know. The end scene of the first one was just so good that I'm just like, I get it. The story has been told.
Yeah.
Now, what more is there to tell?
Sure.
I think besides there being rebellion against the apes, and we inevitably know where it's going, so that's why it's always hard for me when they do a prequel series. So I think the only thing that they could really tell was the origin story well, and I think they did that.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I don't have much heat with this movie.
Oh,
I think it did
messing
surprise
with
me
you.
when I found out that this was your favorite film, because I was like, but I also didn't live in a generation where maybe this was it. Like this doesn't predate Star Wars, the original does it?
I
Isn't
think
it
it does.
It does?
It might have even
Yeah.
been the 60s.
So this could truly be like a family's like first Star Wars, and then that kind of lives on. And so I think since that was never part of my like upbringing, for me, I'm always like, what about Rise of the Planet, or what is the Planet of the Apes, like the mystique of it. But I'm super into Dune now, and people don't really care a lot about sandworms.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where like people are like, what's so cool about sandworms? So I sympathize now, and I understand.
And to be clear, I'm not old enough to have seen any of the originals in the.
No, yeah. No, but I think like I wouldn't like Star Wars if my dad didn't have the VHS.
Yeah,
is what I'm
there you
saying.
go.
So like if there wasn't this already like predetermined love for something,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
my sci-fi love probably would have been hindered by that, because I would have had to just discover it myself.
Fair enough.
My dad was a big fan of these movies, and I think I got a good check
I must be
mark.
missing something.
Maybe. Well, you had
Or
the
my-
Marvel
my-
side,
yeah,
because
well,
my
yeah.
dad didn't have the Marvel side.
I guess
I
we
didn't
do,
read
yeah,
comics and stuff.
That's fair.
But I got a good check mark next to my name when
Oh yes, he
when I
did.
told Adam that I've seen all the Planet of the Apes, the old and the new and the Mark Wahlberg version.
I was surprised. I will say that.
Yeah.
Did you end up just asking for his permission to marry your daughter instead? Look, Michael, we need to meet up.
Ready to meet up, please. You've seen all the Planet of the Apes. You're perfect. That's
I
basically
have a
how
short
it went.
list, and you hit 5 of the 6 things on the list. That's amazing.
And so I did grow up watching those movies, and I don't remember a lot of them because I haven't watched them in years, but I remember that first one.
Yeah.
And so that maybe also increases my enjoyment of the trilogy. But I think they're just like well done movies. I think they are. I don't love the third one as much, but I understand it as a conclusion to it, and I like how it ends and how it like this is like the story, like this is Caesar, like the legend basically.
Yeah.
And so.
And there's also very few movies where you're not rooting for the human side of things.
Yes.
Especially like.
Yeah, the irony of that is pretty. That works.
Like the only other ones I can really think about are like Avatar,
Mm-hmm.
and that might be it.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of where the humans are like the bad people, but you're still like, not cheering for them. And this is one of those where, and I think it helps that they look amazing. Like the CGI, it's crazy that like in 2011, and then as the other ones released, some of that looks better than like even what stuff we're seeing today.
Now,
Like there's just weird. I don't know what the discrepancy is, if there's just we're putting too much on VFX people or something, but like man, these movies just look
Amazing.
not like there's no flaws with any of it, especially when 90% of what's on screen is not real, except for I guess it's a person that they're turning into
Mocapping,
whatever, but still it's fascinating to me. I didn't know, I wasn't really going anywhere with that. I just wanted to comment.
Adam, do you have any like favorite scenes from the first one?
Yeah, no, I was watching them. I assumed I would get this kind of question. Of course, I love it when when he actually confronts
the guard
guard guy, right, and you get his first word, right, no, and then of course there's a callback to the original, get your hands off me, damn dirty ape, but whatever. And that's cool, and I don't think they overdid the callbacks to the
no,
original
not at
movie,
all,
which I appreciate as well, because they could have gone just ridiculous on some of that stuff, but yeah, I love that scene, and just you can just feel the emotion of it, right? I mean, both of him and when he chose to stay with the apes, that was just an incredibly powerful scene, right? Because you knew he didn't want to, but yet he chose to, right? Yeah. So that was huge. I mean, the bridge scene is awesome, and it had to kind of be epic like that. I think those are my big ones. Oh, when he uses the cookie as a way to say, I'm the one in charge here.
Yeah.
And here you're gonna hand this out to everyone. That was like, okay, you're
yeah. Some of that stuff in like the zoo where he is like, and you see like him formulating his plans.
Oh yeah.
And like that's where he's like, okay, he's up to something. You don't really know what, and then he becomes this leader. Like that is just done so well to show like his progression from like the new person on the block, and then like he's like the leader of the apes, and like then you believe that like he will lead these apes.
Yeah.
And then
I do think that scene though where he does speak for the first time is really cool, because the whole movie up to that point you're saying like, dang, he is super intelligent just based off of like sign language and communication. But there's still more to it, and so when he does that, you're like, oh no, like a step has been taken, and there's like this simultaneous like level of like fear and like what's gonna happen
we
next.
Can't go back.
We've done it. We played God.
I think I even remember in the movie watching this for the first time, not knowing whether he would actually speak. Right, you're like, okay, if they do actually do multiple movies of this, and I don't even know if that was even predicted.
They could drag it out a little bit.
You didn't know if he was going to say anything in that first movie, but
But even using just one word, it was powerful. Like what you said. I think it still struck where it's like, we're not still to like the other movies like level of intelligence, but we're like, stuff's going down.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And yeah, we do still live in the era of like, this came out like when Transformers was hot, and so we had to have like a bridge. We had to have some destruction.
Sure.
But I felt like the movie didn't rely too heavily on its action, so when it used it, I felt like it was special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was definitely impactful when like, and you see like all these apes swarming the bridge, and then they go like under and like so there's like strategy that all the orangutans kind of like go under and then come on like to the bridge. True. And just like how like ill prepared like all the humans were for this, or like, and this like maybe like this like the confidence of the overconfidence that like we have, like we can take these on, and then we just get smoked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. I didn't think about that. Oh shoot, I had a thought, but it just left my mind. Dang it.
Something about apes.
I almost. No, what I was gonna say was, dang it, I lost it again. I'm sorry.
It's something about apes.
It'll come to me.
All right, so favorite scenes. I wanted to know, so do you watch this like on a yearly basis, or like how often is this like on the TV?
It's been a while. No, I don't. I mean, my wife would say that I do watch movies repeatedly, and I do. I grew up with 4 younger brothers, so we would watch movies like ad nauseum at times. But but no, I don't think, every couple of years. It's kind of like if there's a reason to, right?
Yeah.
My nephew wanted to watch him this year, and he was old enough that his dad said, yeah, that's fine. So we watched him through the holidays.
Oh, nice.
Over Christmas.
So is this like, if somebody's going to ask you, like somebody's like, for some reason somebody would ask you this perfect question. I wish somebody would ask me this. Adam, I can only watch 3 films for the rest of my life, and you have to pick them.
Wow.
I mean, is it this trilogy? Is it at least this movie and then 2 others?
Yeah, if you're gonna nail me down to 3 movies, I don't know that it would be this trilogy. I think you're right. I think it would be this movie,
Yeah.
and then I'd leave space for something else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's a fair answer. I feel like this is a complete story.
It is.
The first one is
really
a complete story.
Yeah. No, I agree.
As much as I love the second one, you don't need it really.
No.
It's great, but like it's not.
I mean, like you said, knowing it's a prequel, you know the direction everything's going.
Right. Yeah. That's the one, like, I feel like prequels are important, but I do feel like sometimes we expect so much from them, but we already know how it ends, and so it leads to, like, some bad expectations. Like, for instance, we're having this Star Wars show with Cassian Andor from Rogue One is coming. Have you seen Rogue One?
I have seen Rogue One.
Okay. We all know how Rogue One ends because it's in between 3 and 4, and everyone, spoiler, has to die because they're not in Star Wars. But there's now a show about him that's supposedly really great, but we know his fate.
Right.
And so, like, it's boxed in. So I'm always, like, careful going into those because it's like you could have picked something that has a wide open, never-ending trajectory. But for some reason, we're so fascinated with just going back to what we already have. And then putting ourselves in a box with a fan base that's like, you don't have to do this.
Yep.
And this was a feat because it chose to go back to something that was pretty well established and said, I think we can take another crack at it.
Yeah.
And I felt like it did a great job.
Yeah,
and it's exciting that it's your favorite.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
that's very cool.
It can go back and be better than the original content, you know?
This was like one of those unique prequels, whatever Hollywood makes. I was like, this felt like it just kind of needed to be said. Like, I'm excited for Andor, but like, there's definitely like, especially in the Star Wars things, where it's like there are set time frames that they will tell stories to death.
Yeah.
And like between 3 and 4, there's comics, books, and everything's like
we
will
have 10
tell
years.
every
This is
every
the only
second
10 years
of that.
we can tell stories.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's just like a monetary thing where it's like, oh, we can't do a 100 years in the future because there's no Skywalker there, and so you can't do a Skywalker thing. So it's like this is like it has to be somewhat related, and so this felt like unique and like could tell that story.
Now, for someone who hasn't seen the originals,
Yes.
is Caesar actually in them, or is so much time has passed that like it's like 1,000 years? Into the
I think
future?
it's supposed to be several.
So Caesar isn't even
1,000 or
mentioned?
Several thousand.
He's mentioned.
Oh.
Caesar, I believe, was mentioned like once in the original as like the the prophet kind of almost, and then if you don't know the original series, what happens is they eventually take a ship back in time to present day Earth with these 2 apes and have a baby. The baby is named Caesar, and that grows up in this.
Whoa, the time loop.
The third or fourth one, they go back in time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it does cycle back, and I guess what I like about this is that it didn't rely on that kind of a loop for it to happen. So in some ways, it corrects a simplistic plot from the original.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. I'm into Planet of the Apes now. I'm going all in. I'm gonna go watch everything.
Just skip the second one.
Okay, just skip the second one.
Yeah.
The whole we worship a bomb under the city for an entire movie.
Whoa. Yeah, like they find this human outcrop.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild series. Well, Nick, you mentioned it. If you had 3 movies to recommend to me that I have to watch, or whatever question you said that you would love to get asked, here's the question being asked to you.
Shoot. That backfired on me fast. I shouldn't have welcomed that invite. I would probably look at it in a genre style where I wouldn't pick 3 similar movies. I'd probably pick 3 as different as possible movies as I could find. And so I would go with About Time. God, I hope Dune Part 2 is good, because I would say Dune 1.
He just says Dune Part 2 now.
I thought he was going to say Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2.
I really hope it's good because I'm saying it right now.
And then hopefully there's some cut of it that's just one disc and it's both parts, so I can send them with that as number 2. And then as number 3, I would go with, so I've got the romantic comedy family, and then I've got the Shakespearean space opera. Okay, so now what really just rounds that out? I would go with trying to think. 2017 Power Rangers.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Full
Full throttle.
throttle.
That is.
No. Avengers Endgame.
Oh, okay. That's. I was gonna say that's the most Nick
It's
list
too
I've ever heard in my
culturally.
life.
It's too culturally like.
Power Rangers.
So the Power Rangers is the one that I leapfrogged, right? I mean, I had younger brothers, so I was able to get with a lot of the younger stuff, and I played with Transformers until I was too old to have needed to, but the Power Rangers was just in that gap that I wasn't gonna hit that.
Yeah, it was like very, very late 80s, very early 90s, and I just like happened to be right there. So
And he soaked all that up.
And then I kind of lucked out because then my mom had my little brother when I was 11, and so then I got to like do a second generation of it. So that's really what kept it going. It's like I basically had a decade. It was like, this is awesome, I'm growing out of it, and he's like, this is awesome. I'm like, I guess I'm not growing out of it. And so I just never have.
That's great.
So good.
Wow. Okay, so Endgame, About Time,
And Dune.
That is a list. It's the most Nick list I've ever heard.
I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
Yeah.
Feeling strong.
Adam, have you thought of two more, or do you know?
Oh, I think I would go a similar route to you to not. I'd be nice to the person that I'm restricting to 3 movies and not make them watch this, 3 sci-fi movies that they might hate or something like that. But,
Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes 2. There you go.
although the irony is, I love 50 First Dates.
Oh, dude.
The Adam
Classic.
Sandler and
Excellent.
and
Drew
Drew
Barrymore.
Barrymore, they do so well together, the two of them. Even though that's has that whole repetition aspect to it that not a lot of people will go for.
There's a beautiful like heart to that movie though too. Cause,
there is.
Mm,
I don't know
excellent
what my
second
third
pick.
one would be. I'd have to
You
think
mentioned
through
Hidden
the third
Figures a while ago that you really
Hidden
liked.
Figures is a beautiful movie. That is very,
Beautiful drama.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with him. Yeah, it's not a comedy, and
Yep.
and
You were disqualified from the movie draft. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I still won.
Okay, that's fine.
And yet, it's some of the stuff that's funny in that movie is just that it's, so ironic now, or that you're like, wow, that probably did, or maybe it happened.
It just blows your mind that behavior like that exists.
Yeah, it's weird that you use funny and Hidden Figures in the same sentence. That's really
wow. Yeah, because of how
because
dramatic
of how,
it is.
how comedic
whatever.
it can be.
We're not putting Adam between us right now. He'd pick me anyway. It's fine.
It's been a slow game to get to know Nick.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, I know. There has been a little peek behind the curtains, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a storm brewing, and it's just been like these two gentlemen just trying
a voice
to
in your
meet.
ear for so long, but never a face that you got to see
Yeah. So now, how does it feel to be
in our presence.
not in our presence?
They say never to meet your heroes. How are you feeling tonight?
I was hoping to meet your daughter.
Oh, it's true. It is
no.
bedtime. Wedding.
Missed that one.
For sure.
Yeah, wedding. She'll be there.
There you go.
Or the cutest dress.
That's right.
Well, second cutest.
Maybe we do a
dress,
weekend podcast again, round 2.
There you
Planet
go.
of the Apes, the rest
I
of them.
am going to be invited back, or does that depend on ratings?
Bit
of both.
If you get enough of your clan to
Your family bought so many T-shirts from us that I think you kind of just have a pass if you want to get on.
Your family bought more than both of our families.
We are sponsored by your family.
Yeah.
What's your 3, Michael?
Oh, jeez. Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3.
Get out.
I'm done. It's tricky because Lord of the Rings is my favorite movies of all time, but I don't think I can pick one of those because it's not complete.
You can't
They
just have
didn't
one.
build it perfectly like this movie.
Okay, hold on.
Whoa.
I'm gonna need to time out real quick. Episode's deleted.
That's amazing.
So I would say Arrival.
Yep.
One of my most favorite movies of all time. Man.
Don't pick only Denis Villeneuve.
I know, and
movies.
I'm also like, do I just go Prisoners? And then...
Oh, I
don't
love
know.
it.
Yeah.
You got
it. Arrival, just off the top of my head, there's a movie that I personally love called The Road to El Dorado, which is my animated comedy movie that I grew up with watching. Me and my sister Christine would just, like, watch that on repeat.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Jeez, I don't know. Dark Knight, sure, we'll go with that. It's a great movie.
Thought you were gonna pick Twilight.
That'd be my fourth pick.
Are you secretly a really big
no,
Twilight fan? Oh,
I'm not
I
you.
thought I got you.
I'm not Nick.
Okay, fine. Okay.
If you could pick 5 movies, it would have been the 3 you said,
Then Power Rangers.
then Power Rangers, then Twilight.
It's a culturally phenomenon. It's a phenomenon.
That's a way to experience it. That's a way to say it.
Well, I'm glad you brought me back to Arrival because that is a really cool movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched that one again.
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, you like?
Yeah, when he
okay.
listened to the podcast, and
After
he's
listening to the podcast, I did watch that one again. I can't remember if May ended up liking it.
she said it was boring initially.
I think she maybe got into it better towards the end.
Yeah.
I
It
think
is a slow burn.
we had a guest on, Olivia, who's like, I only watch movies once, and she doesn't do repeat watches, which we were like, you're crazy. But like, I feel like sometimes after hearing someone talk about it and getting to hear from their point of view, I'm like, oh, and then I go back and watch it. I'm like, oh, I never would have caught that, because some people just like see it slightly different, or that word sticks out to them more than this one does. And so I find that fascinating, and I feel like I almost appreciate films. That's kind of like ultimately, not to get like super deep, but like the point of our podcast too is like, if we kind of like talk to people and like understand why they enjoyed this film, you typically can't leave there going, I don't see your point, the movie's trash, goodbye. Usually you're like, okay, that's a lot better than what I would have said about the film, but now I know that somebody loves that, and I appreciate that now, so I'm going to go back and watch this and probably like it more, you know?
I think of examples from both of you. I mean, watching Planet of the Apes, again, like, I was just so stuck on the second one being, like, the best one. And then rewatching it with you, as, like, we would, like, talk through, I was like, oh, like, I see why this is, like, really great. And so, it's, like, it's so great to, like, open up the, like, that experience of, like, I mean, that's the power of cinema, right? Like, we can, like, everyone has a different experience. And then watching Power Rangers again. I was like, oh man, actually, I get it. I think I just also bailed off people's hype.
Oh, for sure.
So
you
like,
love seeing people happy, and I think that makes you happy. So you're like, this movie's not that great, but you're so happy. It's amazing.
So Power Rangers.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it's really fun. Well, you have notes for your Planet of the Apes here. Have you hit all of them?
I don't know. I don't know if I've hit it.
You've glanced over enough. But,
I also will say that I don't think anyone else has brought notes to a podcast that we've done before. Has someone?
I'm a nerd.
If it wasn't like movie picks, like a movie draft
picks.
or something,
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
Like Andrew, I think, brought notes for his Marvel picks. And
That's
stuff.
true.
But yeah, I don't think anyone's really.
On just a single movie.
Well, if you're asking me about my notes,
yes.
I did write a couple of things just about like callbacks to the original movie.
Okay.
Sure. And this is like total nerd things that I wouldn't have known had I not seen some documentary or something off it. ALZ 112, which was their original drug.
Yeah.
The 112 is the running length of the original movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then there's just a handful, like, you know, the whole Lost in Space newspaper flyer was a callback to the original ship launching and leaving Earth.
Got it.
Right before this happened.
Okay.
So I wrote down a couple things like that. But I think what I expected you to ask at one point was, is there a flaw in this movie or something along those lines?
Wow.
And I think the biggest thing that I don't care for, if I'm gonna criticize something, and I try not to get too picky about you know, nitpicking apart a movie that I like, but the villain quote Jacobs, you know, he's just pretty one-dimensional, of course, and the part that I can't get over is he never actually met Caesar, and yet he's like, you gotta get the leader, and he's like, there he is right there. I'm like, you didn't never see that.
Yeah, dang.
Just classic plot device villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets the ball rolling.
That's what I always said too, is that he was just a plot device. He was just it was not really the main part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like you sacrifice maybe like a better villain for extra scenes that make you care about the hero. You know, I think the one thing I would have said was like maybe you could replace James Franco, but at the same time, like surprisingly they work well together. I never would have thought I would say like Andy Serkis and James Franco. What a combo, you know, But he's coming off of like the Spider-Man films. He's kind of at the peak of his career, you know, and so like it made sense that he was in this movie because at this time he was kind of the leading man, you know. But other than that, that's the one thing maybe I would have like. I don't know. Does James Franco have to be in this movie? I think Andy Serkis has to be in this movie. I think no one else could have done it clearly justice, but I thought James Franco did fine too. Yeah. So
I think there are things that, like, there is no like probably perfect movie, and we like movies we love still have like flaws in them. And it's like, yeah, it's a fine villain, but even then, like, the villain probably could be like a society or whatever, like just like the.
I was more worried about the giant ape anyway, like, or the gorilla dude. I was just like, this is terrifying.
Oh, the gorilla's
like,
the best. Okay, so if you could be an ape like Caesar, a gorilla, or the orangutan, which one would you choose?
This reminds me of what I was going to say earlier.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to say was, I thought it was incredibly telling that they chose to make Caesar more of like the slimmer build and not the physically dominant. That would have been easier to just believe that he's going to lead them to victory.
Right.
And he like has to undermine them with intelligence. Or, you know, like, look, it doesn't matter how strong you are because look how smart I am. I can get everyone out of here. You're just a brute. And like, that was cool. Although the orangutans kind of have like this weird, like, I don't know, they kind of function as like the like shaman tanky guy. Like, I don't know what they are, but like they're
like
not
the wise men.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not your bruisers, but they're still pretty big units compared to like Caesar, you know. But he still holds his own, but he has to do it with his like strengths, not with his strength.
His personal strength, like his mental facilities.
But anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, I'm an orangutan.
Okay, nice.
They're so cool. My favorite character is
cool.
the orangutan.
Fair enough. I don't know what.
And Maurice is an awesome. I wish he had more screen time through all three of the movies.
More Reese prequel series. I'm there.
Oh yeah,
give it to me.
Prequel
because they seem to really love Koba.
Koba,
or whatever his name is, like the guy that just kind of keeps coming back. But it's like, oh man, I would have loved more with like what you guys were saying. Like, give me more like nicer apes that stay throughout the films. I guess.
Oh sure. Well, there's like that guy.
I feel like all the good ones don't make it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one does.
Well, the gorillas never seem to survive a movie, right? I mean, there's always the big guy has to die, and I kind of that was another comment that I wrote down. I'm like, man, I wish he could have made it.
Yeah,
I was getting to like him.
Yeah, the big guy.
But yeah, I'd probably pick an orangutan too. That sounds pretty awesome. Pretty beast.
Orangutans will at him, or
sure. No, I can definitely see an orangutan. Right, it's just hard. You fall in love with a single character, but the orangutan's pretty awesome.
Cool. What a fascinating question that I didn't think I'd be asked tonight.
You know, just something.
You're on fire.
Not as united as always trying to throw something at you.
Bending the rules of social boundaries.
That's right. Like an orangutan bends its arm around a vine or something. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, I greatly appreciate. Like, I feel like I think what Michael was getting at earlier was when he first mentioned, I was like, oh man, our biggest fan. What's his favorite movie of all time? I think I had some interesting expectations because, like, when he said Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I think I was just so caught off guard because, like, I enjoyed the movie, but I never thought it would ever be someone's favorite film. But after tonight's discussion, it's not going to be my favorite film, but I think, like, I'm, like, understanding this is beautiful. Like, you know.
So I need to have a rating from you guys.
Oh, he's right.
He did create the scale.
That's true. Oh, my gosh.
We owe this to him.
We owe.
Okay. This one is pretty solid. I think I would say it's pretty essential sci-fi. So I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10.
Wow, that's higher than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go 8.5.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Way to go second and go a little bit more there. Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, sorry, 10 out of 10.
Sorry. 10
wait.
out of 10. This is perfection, Nick. Yeah, no, like, I think the CGI alone is like, hey, this is obviously the best, because all the rest were practical, which they looked fine, but this was, I think, just super well done, and it showed that the design and the company behind it was just like they trusted that they were doing the right thing. I think this, like you said, this was not a cash grab. If it was a cash grab, you'd have the bridge scene for like half the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's what movies were in this era. Was like Transformers. What do we just need to transform the whole movie. We're transforming. What's the plot?
The Michael Bay directed Planet of the Apes movie.
And so I think this one just had a lot more like, let's have a good story, and if there happens to be a cool action scene that we can throw in the trailer, great.
And honestly, the timing of it, because like you said, this was the same era of all the Transformer movies that I wanted to love, you know, growing up with Transformers, and to have something kind of crash and burn as bad as they did over several movies, and to have this one just be a very good story.
The problem with all these IPs are they're not human, but they have to force humans into their story. So like Transformers is great because it takes place on Cybertron. I'm pretty sure they're not even like on Earth ever.
Well, it depends on the show.
I guess maybe they eventually show up, but it's like there's not a Shia LaBeouf in there that's like has to have half the screen time. Same with like Godzilla. Like there's a city that has to be like defended. I don't care about Millie Bobby Brown. I care about Godzilla beating the crap out of whoever he has to beat the crap out of. But there's like half the movie. So I think like Planet of the Apes is like there has to be humans in this, but they're used correctly, you know. But I think like a lot of these IPs, especially like Transformers, was like, how do we interject like the human? It's like, I don't care. I just want to see Optimus Prime fight robots. And
but this did like interject the humans with James Franco, where it's like,
correct.
Wait, I actually care about the humans in this movie. I do think the second and third do a lesser extent of that human connection because they're fairly bland. But this one's like,
well, and you're also not supposed to care about the humans, but like,
sure.
But again, he didn't dismiss the humans, right? In fact, he spent a lot of time defending the humans and stopping.
Yeah, that's true.
The carnage that could have happened.
Yes,
that's fair. Yeah,
exactly.
Because of the relationship built in the first one. So. But yeah, I think that's the struggle with a lot of these IPs is they're like, we have to attach somebody that has the face that can show up on the poster for these films to sell.
Sure.
Because if we just say Peter Cullen is the voice of Optimus Prime, people are like, whatever, who cares, you know? So I just think that this was the perfect blend of IP, but also, you know, getting people in there that will catch your attention.
It's perfect. I'm assuming a 10 out of 10 from you then.
Sure.
Easy.
I'd probably give a few 10 out of 10s for movies though. I don't need to say there's never going to be a movie that's a 10 out of 10 other than my.
Well, it's a personal enjoyment thing. I think that's definitely
this one is. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Dude, nice. Yeah. I think this went very well.
Yeah.
I actually, you've swayed me. I respect.
Well, I got you up to an 8, so that's pretty impressive.
I was thinking.
I think
7 for you.
I mean, I think I've always liked the first one, but I think walking through it again, I think talking to people that actually care about it, I think that was maybe my problem with this. Is like I just had never had a disciple of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes that has led me in the way of the theology behind Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and now I feel better about it. So,
yeah.
I'm a changed man.
Awesome.
Well, you did something amazing here tonight, Nick. I've never seen Nick so I've never seen Nick so elated and positively gleaming with joy about being an orangutan.
That's true. And I didn't even think I'd ever answer that question in my life, but now it's up there. It's one of the most important questions. If you could put
an orangutan into a morphin suit,
dude, game over. There's probably a Power Ranger season out there where a monkey became a Power Ranger, but we'll see.
Not yet.
There will be.
You'll make it.
Sure.
Anything else that anyone wants to say? Then we will be another episode completed, another great time with great people.
Yes.
And that's all this podcast is, really.
Thank you for making the trip out.
Yes, Adam, we thank you so much for having on the podcast. We will love to have you again.
You will now be immortalized in the history of Not Us United.
Yeah.
All right.
Not fan.
Love it.
Turned podcast member.
That's right. One of us.
Yeah, one of us.
Not us.
Not
United.
Oh, we've done it. Oh, we're the best podcast ever. Oh, we did it. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.